Hello, everybody. I'm Grandmaster Jan Gustafsson. Welcome to a very special on the road 7th episode of the Chicken Chess Club podcast, where I'm once again joined by my dear friends, Grandmasters Peter Heine Nielsen and Laurent Fressinet to talk about the exciting world of chess. Let's talk first to Laurent, the French rapid champion. Congratulations, Laurent.
Thank you.
How did you manage?
I don't know. It was first of all, one has to admit that many French top players, were missing. But I did chicken dough in the last round, 4 moves, and I was putting all my hopes on my tiebreak, which was very good. So I won the tournament on tiebreak. Lagarde didn't have to win. I mean, it was not, but I was so tired, It's tough because I played the Blitz championship on Saturday, where I finished 6th. So that was not a very good result. So 13 games and 9 games of Rapid on Sunday. I forgot how exhausting it was to play chess. I mean, you wake up at 8 and you have to play the decisive game at 5 p.m. And okay, that was just too much. So I decided to call it a day and hope for the best. I was very lucky. But you guys are in Norway right now, right?
I mean, if this is how much complaints Laurent have when he wins, I would not like to be there when he loses, actually. I mean, but
Yeah, no, but I'm happy. No, but my main goal was not to. I mean, I was so tired that I just wanted not to blunder big, and I did manage that. I mean, I made 8 out of 9, so that was good. I mean, I didn't lose any games. I mean, it was nice, but I really didn't enjoy the process. I enjoyed winning, but the process of playing, it was way too many games for me in 2 days. That's it.
you're like the sausage, yeah. Anyway, me and Jan is in Norway. That's correct, right? But for me, there's been quite some traveling. I was with Magnus in Denmark when we had the last episode. He was playing this knockout, and he got knocked out actually. So in that sense, I had to get back a bit earlier than expected. So I have been back in Lithuania for some days, even managing a round of golf, and now I'm here in Norway. But actually, together with Jan, we can see that we have basically the same background picture because while we are at the same location, we have still chosen to be in separate rooms during the podcast. Right?
Yeah,
The
I'm
room looks similar.
anticipating a tenth episode. I didn't want to be in the same room with you.
So I get the point.
So who was the best home actually?
I have a.
The future.
I have very randomly. I have a pretty standard hotel room. There's a double bed. There's some small table. There's some chair.
Check.
There's a desk. But then very randomly in the middle of it, there's standing another single bed, and I'm not sure why it's there or what it's doing. It confused me greatly. I thought it was because
So
Peter didn't get a room, so they put a spare bed in my room.
No, that's true. I arrived late yesterday. I arrived yesterday as planned, but somehow the reason they thought I would come the day before, so they had given away my room. So there was a longer debate there, but it at least seems to amuse my owners.
Your
That
owners?
was Magnus. But but sort of that
Interesting
took
wording.
a while, and now I kind of have a room, right? So no, that's okay. My room is not so big in the sense that I don't think there's space for a single bed somewhere. So that's
There's
fine.
no space
But,
for a single bed in
no,
mine either. That's the bad thing about it.
that's the bad thing. That could actually be, yeah. No, but I'm here with Magnus for Norway Chess, and that's always going to be fun to have him at sort of playing at home ground and such. So things are generally good in that sense. I would say,
But do you
from my
guys are planning to meet at some point? I mean, in real life, or just you don't?
Jan has already bumped into me twice
Oof.
with snide remarks both about my room and my political career.
I thought Peter had a
we see each
beer
other now
at
and then.
dinner. I tried to take pictures, but it turned out it was just some kombucha, so I couldn't use it.
Yeah. I mean,
So you even had dinner together? or
Not together. I was
Perfect.
sitting
No.
far away on my little single table while they were living it up, like enjoying a good laugh.
that is. That is true. No, we had a team dinner, me, Magnus, and his father, and sort of. Well, we are podcasting here today, Tuesday, and he's playing Wang Hao a bit later today. So, well, we were talking about that, the usual routines, and talking to random chess journalists like Jan is also.
So will random journalists will be accepted at the Team Carlsen table or not at some point?
The problem is also I'm trying to play both sides. So I went over to the Giri Lamy table, had a chat with them, and I was worried if Peter had seen me and if I could walk by there. I mean, it's tricky, as Peter will explain later, to try to please everybody. So at some point, I have to choose a side.
Exactly, I know the feeling. I managed to get so early to lunch today. I think I was down there at 11:30. I had the restaurant for half an hour for myself. There was just no one so early actually.
I was there too, but I wasn't sure if it had open already because I overslept breakfast, and there was this buffet, but I thought it was breakfast, so I waited till like 1. Oof, this is great podcasting already. So we're in a hotel with many of the best players in the world. It's very exciting. Vishy Anand is here with his second. Wang Hao coming out of retirement, I guess because he was invited. He said, okay, if you guys invite me, I'll unretire. He's here.
Who is Vishy's second?
Is it Sandipan? I think it's Sandipan. I actually haven't seen his second here, so you're honest, you're giving me inside info, so that's good.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you're right, there's a lot of famous chess players, and you should think in Norway they're all recognized. But in the lift, actually, yesterday, I saw Wesley So, who had just won the Blitz tournament here for the qualifier. I had to explain to some, I would say, other hotels guests that he was playing chess, and he had to explain, no, it was, he also plays online, but actually this is a real tournament and things like that and such. So, I mean, yeah, I think Magnus is a huge star, but the others are not as recognizable as he is, of course.
But there's also the top 3 chicken of the world, according to me, actually. Like Rajabov, Giri, and Wesley are just... I mean, the top of the world, of the chicken's world, no?
Yeah, you're predicting some results here, I can feel. But that is true. But, also they had... I was at the opening ceremony yesterday, and they were prouding themselves of having 2 former world champions and the current one and such. So they have an interesting field. And also, the candidates tournament is happening shortly, so quite some is, of course, choosing to prepare for that. And also, they have chosen not to have any Russian players here in Stavanger. So... I mean, they had to come up with some kind of...
Fun fact for the field, it's exactly the same field as in 2013, except Hammer is out and Ariantari is in.
Okay.
So you have to spot the Hammer, yeah?
Hammer's here.
But Hammer is here. He's just been promoted to TV commentator.
Okay.
So that is... No, Hammer... also Hammer I have seen, but I haven't spoken to yet. But there is still time.
No,
and such...
No, but it's very interesting. No, I agree. I mean, and you have a lot of, Mamediarov, MVL to some extent, Anand Topalov. I mean, they just want to play. Tari. Also, Magnus obviously wants to win some rating, I guess, and to win another time. I think he just won 3 times in a row.
Correct. No, I mean, that they're also saying that Norway Chess used to be a pretty bad tournament for Magnus, and I think maybe he had one out of the first 5 or 6, but now somehow he's gotten into a good stride with 3 wins in a row. So let's try not to jinx that.
So you guys predict that Magnus is going to win? I'm saying,
yes.
Of course, Magnus the favorite, but this has Wesley So tournament written all over it. He can be solid. Some guys who are a little out of practice, who might not be as booked up, he'll make a bunch of draws, win some games. This is a Wesley tournament.
Yeah, but for a start, I think Magnus is quite clearly the bookie favorite. I think even the bookies was giving him in the neighborhood of 75%.
I'm not arguing the world champion, the world number 1, the guy who's 100 points higher rated than everybody else is a favorite.
No, but I will, if you will let me continue, I will also say in disfavor of Wesley So could perhaps be the point system. That is 3 points for a win and 1 point for a draw, plus an extra half point if you win the Armageddon game. So they're trying to give incentive for players who have high winning percentages in the classical games, and that might not necessarily be to Wesley's favor.
I believe in Wesley. He's tough in the rapid and
Good.
blitz. If he gets black there, he's going to be tough to beat. Obviously, Magnus
Also,
is a huge favorite with his system.
When you win the Blitz tournament, as Wesley do, you get to pick your starting number. And Wesley confidently took starting number 1, which meant that he starts with 2 whites. And in the second game, he's white against Magnus. So he has the chance of getting off to a flying start. So, I mean, yeah, maybe it is going to be the tournament of Wesley. But, again, I'm employed not to hope that. But let's see.
No, I'm, of course, not rooting for him. But it has good tournament for Wesley written all over it for me. He looks in great shape. He crushed the Blitz tournament. We will see. Any other sleepers in the field? Vishy Anand, his first event since, 2019, his first classical. Topalov, his first classical since 2020.
Vishy, again, looked good in Blitz, at least in the beginning, then somehow slowed down a bit in the end. The reverse can be said about Vachier-Lagrave, right? I think he actually started losing the first 5 Blitz games. And I saw somebody on Twitter actually talking about that now Laurent would overtaking on the Blitz rankings. But then I think he won the next 4. So this was quite ups and downs there. But I don't think anything else really stood out in the Blitz and such. Well, Topalov ended not too badly, but also he's not really a Blitz player. But of course, Topalov, is saying that, maybe a bit like Wang Hao, that he's kind of retired. But when he got an invitation to play, he thought, why not, and such. So
no, I think that's the main. I mean, we'll talk about it later, I guess. But for me, the main event of the Blitz tournament was a last round game between Wesley and Anish. I mean, not the game in itself, before the game, They were so happy. So that was really fun to watch.
It was nice to see. Yeah. Both guys already qualified, draw enough for both of them. It was a highlight moment for the Chicken Chess Club.
I mean, like a loss was enough as well.
I think so, but better be safe.
Yeah,
exactly. No, I mean, there is a semi-viral clip with Jan sort of basically giving commentary live and telling what's actually going to happen, and then it happens as far as I
think it's viral. It has like 20 likes. That's viral in my book.
Exactly. Yeah, and I have seen it twice. So there we are. But basically, Jan is predicting the whole game, and he tells that, okay, it's going to be this Grunfeld, there's going to be this repetition, and this is exactly what happens. And
no, but I thought it was going to be the other Grunfeld with Rook B1, which is cooler, where you sacrifice a queen, and then you go Rook G7, King H8, Rook back.
It's much longer.
Yeah, exactly. I was hoping for some more action.
It's too complicated, You can
mix it up.
Yeah, this is also, I mean, I think, Laurent will correct me because he's the expert on the subject, but basically there is 2 kind of prearranged draws. There is prearranged draws between people who trust each other. Then you can make it long and complicated and very beautiful. And then there is this prearranged draws between people who doesn't trust each other, that will typically be this Berlin we all know, or this Grunfeld. It's basically a forced line with no good deviations. And I think the latter is the safer thing that people are going for.
I don't think it's exactly that. I will correct you. There's people who are ashamed of doing these quick draws and, do some kind of comedy show, let's say, play for a couple of hours. And there are people who are not ashamed at all and just make this 5 minutes draw and go home.
But I have to say, the effort put into fixed draws has gone way down, in the late 2000s, without naming any names. But there were a lot of great 4-hour fights that were carefully analyzed by both sides with novelties and a deep think. And, some insiders knew how it was going to end. But, they put on a great show for us.
Exactly. I think actually you make a good point that the sort of prearranged draw quality has actually somehow fallen.
But actually, I don't think it's prearranged. That's the point. That people, they don't talk to each other before the game, so they're not cheating, basically, and they just go there, and the guy plays deep. When you go for Berlin, it's basically you just offer this draw, and you know the guy is probably going to take it. So, well, they found, I mean, by...
No, I wasn't talking about the
practice,
Giri Wesley game. Like, obviously, chances were high, as I mentioned on the show, but I don't think they talked about the move order. It's just here. If both sides are happy with the draw, white goes d4, you'll very likely see the Grunfeld in one of these two lines. If white goes e4, you'll very likely see the Berlin. This doesn't have to be debated.
Let's see how it goes between Rajabov and Mamedov in that tournament. It's very famous that, while I don't think they played a single classical game, I mean, like they really played, was they were fighting, was they didn't know the result beforehand. I mean, it's very well known in the chess world. So let's see how it goes. And anyway, there is Armageddon, so yeah, they have to produce some kind of show.
Can't wait.
But with this with the current point system, I mean, making a quick draw is actually not ideal. You can argue with the normal point system; it doesn't really hurt you.
Yeah.
But Peter,
they would
as
do
an
it
experienced
anyway,
chicken, if I can get a safe draw for 1 point or an uncertain fight for 3 or 0 points, what do you think I'm taking?
Yeah, I don't know. No, I know. Actually, sorry, that was inexact. Fair enough. Moving on.
But how does it work after the Blitz tournament? Let's say Wesley chooses first, yeah, and then so on, yeah.
And then you fill
Then
up.
everyone
So
gets
basically,
the next available number. Yeah. Sorry, good.
So that means that Wesley, he can look at 5 different kind of pairings and choose. He can choose he can choose from number 1 till 10, but he will always take 1 to 5 to get 5 whites. And then basically, well, you could argue he can see, okay, I want to have these colors against these colors against that.
So winning it is actually a serious advantage, yeah? Because I think back in the days, someone would win and they would pick whatever number they wanted, and then the second place would pick whatever number they wanted. So you didn't get this privilege to choose your opponent.
No, but then actually, by that system, becomes better being number 2 or 3 than number 1 because you can choose colors against them. So they changed it for that reason.
No, it's very famous. You remember that Kramnik chose to be black, yeah, in the first game. You don't remember that?
Don't remember.
He finished in top 5, and I mean the tiebreak was number of blacks in the tournament.
Yeah, this was Tal Memorial 2013. Kramnik chose to have 5 blacks so that he would have the better tiebreak, and that was probably mathematically correct. But he was black against Magnus in the first round, which I actually just started seconding at that point, and he lost. I do remember it. Don't get me wrong. So yeah.
So
I
it
understood
was not
Kramnik's point.
Yeah.
No, this was Tal Memorial.
All right, so yeah, we're in Norway. Should be a fun week. I like being somewhere. Like, even if there's not a lot of interaction, it's nice to get a feel of the chess atmosphere, like having guys in their seconds sitting there at lunch, at dinner, and seeing people walk around. Also, the playing hall is extremely nice. Some fancy Scandinavian building with lots of space, lots of wood. So it's good to be out in the world. Peter, of course, being a globetrotter, he just wants a day of quiet at home to settle down.
I live in my own bubble. As soon as the game starts, I run back to my
You live on Twitter.
I mean, yeah. I mean, there is tweets to be handled and such. No preparation to be made. So I mean, I don't notice much of a difference in a way, but yeah.
I see. What else is there in the chess world? We had the Champions Chess Tour. Shall we switch to that?
Sounds reasonable enough, I would say.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I was part of it, so I can say that from Magnus' perspective, of course, things didn't go exactly as hoped. Well, Magnus will always hope to win, but he lost a pretty close semi-final to Ding Liren. No, he won the quarterfinals, and now embarrassingly, I forgot against
against Nino.
Exactly. There he won quite convincingly and such, and then he had semi-finals against Ding. There were 2 highest-rated players, but as Anish Giri has won the qualifying stage, he had to play Ding in the semi-final, and it was a close match. And I think they are a good match for each other because they play interesting games and such. And in game 3, Magnus really had the chance to win, but he failed it, and that that he had to pay for when Ding won a nice game in game 4. That was basically it. And it was actually on my birthday, so I generally had a good birthday, but then suddenly, Magnus lost, and we had to basically start packing and go home and such. So that was a tough end, but things like that happens. But it was not like Magnus played extremely badly or anything like that. Ding is just a good player.
But what was it? This bishop a5. I mean, like he forgot that his rook was hanging on d8, or what was it? You didn't
No, I think rather. Well, he played, I forgot, maybe the bishop back to d6, which allowed this c5 followed by f4. And I think Magnus even pointed out that...
I thought that was a huge blunder.
position.
Yeah, I was very surprised because it's fairly typical that c5, f4. If
It's
e5
very
doesn't
typical,
work there, you're
and
in big
I think Magnus has even played it, he said, with white, something like plus 15 years ago or something like that. So it's pretty strange that he fell into that.
Yeah, because also a line he's
I
played with
don't-
white like a million times, and that...
Yeah, I think also Vichy fell into it in the tiebreaks match against Gelfand for the World Championship, if I remember correctly. Also 10 years and a day ago. So,
yeah, but
these things happens.
What I don't get is that giving up a pawn is not going to.
No,
help.
but you're
I mean,
strategically lost more or less, so you have to mix it. I thought bishop a5 wasn't a blunder, just an attempt to
okay.
mix it up.
That I think was on purpose. You can argue it's a bad move, but I think at least it was on purpose.
Yeah, you gotta try e5 or bishop a5 there. Not white just pushes. b4, a4. There's not much to do.
And maybe h6 and g5 the computer was saying, but it wasn't great. It wasn't great. So, well, fair enough. I mean, Ding played better in that game and won, and this is just going to happen now and then. Not never going to be pleasant. But
No,
fine.
Ding is also proper good. He's not the world number 2 for nothing, obviously. We all know this stuff, but sometimes you get reminded when you watch him play for a week, like... Also, how good he is when he gets into some slight trouble to wiggle his way out of it, not let it get out of hand, calculating all the time. No, I was very impressed with Ding.
But it's been a bit of a while for Ding. I mean, of course, I think in the end of 2018, he won this tournament in London ahead of Magnus and was playing incredibly well. Then the pandemic came and such. Candidates was pretty bad for him the first part. Then in some online tournaments in the beginning, he was quite good. Then it seemed to that things went wrong for him, and probably also people were arguing that the time difference was a huge problem for him. And well, you saw in the final, he beat Prague in the final after tie breaks. And I think the game finished at around 5 o'clock local time, 5 o'clock at night local time, if I remember.
No, it's exhausting. And we've heard Laurent is crushed by one day of rapid chess, understandably. But these guys, they have to do it for 8 days in a row, and against super strong opposition, you have to be calculating all the time. Like, I think these are very, very taxing events.
Yeah, no,
more
I mean,
taxing
just
than a single classical.
it's insane. I mean, actually, just to play all those events. If you have to play also live events, I think it's just very, very tiring, very, very difficult, especially if you go till the end. As Ding.
I think when we talk about the event, we also have to talk about Prague, because while I mean Ding won it and Magnus not winning it is perhaps the story, he was also doing incredibly well. He got into the final and lost the first day, then won the second day, and then lost the tiebreaks to Ding. He could just as well as won it. He won against Anish Giri in the semifinals. He was leading, then lost the fourth game with black, and then anyway managed to win the tiebreak. I mean, for him it was some kind of taking it to the next level, I would say.
Yeah, and also backing it up. No, he was fighting for tournament victory in the last of these events, where he failed in the last round. Here he lost the finals, but it looked even more impressive. I think he also beat Magnus again in the qualifier. But yeah, the way he can just play with these top guys, and it's not that he's superior in the opening or something. He's just incredibly resourceful, confident, gets down to 20 seconds and keeps making 15 great moves. He's here to stay.
Well, I think the conclusion is that it's not like we will have to refer him to him as a talent or anything like that. He's just a good player, right? I mean, he's simply...
So what do you mean? You think he will be like in a couple of years in the top 10 or in classical?
That is hard for me to say exactly. As strange as it sounds, I don't have much experience with talents in that way. But he could be. I still think it's early to say. But and I'm very focused on his openings, which might not necessarily be his best part. But as Jan points out, he seems to be very resilient in actual fights against very, very strong players with high stakes. Actually. And that is perhaps the most promising thing, because I guess that's more difficult to learn. I mean, openings, as we discussed, you can always learn, but these things are more impressive.
Yeah, these top 10 debates are always tough to have, because not all the talents can be in the top 10. Plus, the current top 10, they won't all disappear. But if I was a betting man, I'd say Praggnanandhaa is a favorite to be in the top 10 within the next 5 years. Like, these things, I think they can sometimes take longer. Sometimes they also can go very quickly. But he's only 16, right? Like, it can take a while to get to 2790 or whatever you need in classical.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
On that subject was actually the player he beat in the quarterfinal, Wei Yi, right? I mean, him we also projected to just blow into top 10. Or many did, at least, when he had some spectacular result, also at a very early age. But it's not like he's doing badly, but he hasn't completely fulfilled at least the prodigy sort of expectations, I would say.
Who's your favorite prodigy?
Me?
I don't know. Anybody? Up to Satarov?
Erigaisi? And Erigaisi and Sindarov.
Your team Sindarov, but only because you saw 2 games at the World Cup, right? I think that's the sample size.
No, I saw the games, but Abdul Satarov has better results. But somehow Sindarov sometimes he's playing games just so impressive. I mean, like, wow. You think this guy is just a monster, and then it's a bit, but potentially can play like really a top guy. So I don't know. I'm very impressed at times with him.
Did you follow? I'm sure you did. The debate between Hans Niemann and Anish Giri. Do you think Hans Niemann is a favorite to overtake Anish within the next 2 years? Because he said so on Twitter.
He said so on Twitter.
He said you have maximum 2 years until I overtake you.
I really hope it will happen, of course, but probably not. Anish is still a very strong player. Actually, I was surprised. I mean, you may say I'm a hater.
Yes.
But I think Anish played very poorly against Prague in semi-finals. I mean, like blundering on a regular basis. I was really not impressed. I mean, like Anish is a much better player than that generally, even online. So I don't know. That was a bit weird, but I mean weird. He just had a bad day, so that's it. I mean, like. Yeah, so, but let's see, but I don't think, I don't think Anish is, of course, belongs to the top 10.
If I have to weigh in, the answer will also be no. I think Hans is a very interesting player and a lot of fun to follow and such, but overtaking Anish is a considerable feat he will have to do there. I think Anish will hang around the world top 10, and to get there, I mean, as you just mentioned, being a young promising player is not enough. You have to remove somebody from there. There's competition from even younger guys coming and such. It's not that simple.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a long shot, but it's fun to see.
Yeah. I mean, Hans Niemann is interesting in that sense. He seems to be very confident, and he plays the role very well and backs it up with the great results and such. You cannot
it's like a young Laurent
Fressinet. Something like that, yes. Exactly.
Come on.
Yeah. So,
no, but
I'm a fan. It's not that.
I didn't see the whole conversation actually, but I saw. I mean, Anish was very, unpleasant to him. Yeah, like maybe see you in Olympiad. Bring some coffee because Hans is not going to make it for the US team, I guess, because there are so many strong players. So. He was making some jokes.
So you thought Anish was being rude, yeah? If a guy says you have maximum 2 years till I overtake you, and he replies with a joke, and Anish is being very insulting, yeah?
I mean, the joke was not really funny, in my opinion, and
joke
and
expert.
quite rude, but okay. And then I stopped to follow the conversation. I mean, like. Not really.
I have to admit, I also tuned out at that point.
I mean, like I'm busy with Peter tweeting like 20 times a day, and then I get to talk to him for the podcast, so I have to follow Peter. It's already a lot of work. I mean, like so. We'll talk about that, I guess, a bit later.
Can't wait. All right, so Champions Chess Tour. Yeah, Praggnanandhaa was good. Ding was good. Team Magnus, Team Giri probably slightly disappointed by these semifinals. That's all there is. Oh, one more thing brought to my attention by some German chess fans. They were big fans of Mishra's background, like because he's sitting in his children's room. He's, I don't know how old he is, 12, 13, and he has this giant Angry Bird thing there. And he's playing fantastic chess, but he looked full of movement all the time. I'm not sure if you watched him, but he was just shaking, moving back and forth all the time. You could see like he really didn't feel like sitting on the computer for that long.
But he is playing fantastic chess, but this didn't materialize into points, no?
I think, well, he didn't score a lot of points, but it was much better than the last time, no?
Really? I don't know.
You can check it.
I thought he scored really, but you are generally right in this argument we have live. But let's check how many points he scored. I don't know. I didn't follow. I mean, like there's way too many games actually. I'm not looking at all of them.
You're a busy
For
man.
me, it's this typical thing that I live in a complete bubble. It's like, well, at the World Championships, I might be there for 3 weeks. Someone will ask, how is the playing hall? I'll say, I have absolutely no clue. I was never there. And such. It's the same here. I haven't looked at the video. I have no idea which background there is.
But you were at the playing hall yesterday. I was surprised that you would show your face there. Here in Norway Chess.
Yeah, but this is Magnus plays 9 blitz games, and we have to talk during the games. So it's,
During the game soon.
that becomes a No, sort of. Yeah, that might explain his not winning the thing. But
Magnus, 1A4. Ah, you did it already. Excellent.
Yeah, that's a good point. And the same will happen here. That because of the Armageddon games, I will actually have to rush there to have a brief conversation and such. So you might actually see me now and then. Especially
Excellent.
If Magnus makes a draw.
So you'll be in the hotel room, and when it's a draw, you rush there.
Something like this, you have to judge. Will this be a draw within 15 minutes? Then you sort of call a cap and you rush there and such. And then, you probably blow it and you go back, and then it becomes a draw anyway. It's a complicated science somehow.
So he scored 3.5 out of 15.
Yeah, it's not.
I mean, like, but he's
great.
12 or 13, so okay, it's tough. I mean, like, okay, I'm not sure we would score more points, but I mean, still, it's not great. I mean, it's not a great result. Let's face it.
Yeah, I agree. I mainly was brought to my attention that people were big fans of watching him moving up and down, and he did crush Mamedyarov. He had his moments, but yeah, sometimes you only remember the good games and not the final score, I guess.
But also, it's cool when these kids get to play against the big guys, that if they somehow still keep being kids, right, instead of actually having to completely dress up and try to be a young adult, that they just stay who they are and such. I don't know what the background is, but if it was sort of childish to some extent, I'm a huge fan.
Yeah. Okay, switching. Speaking of switching, Richard Rapport switched to the Romanian Federation. He's Hungarian. He was living in Serbia, I think. I don't think he ever represented Serbia. He kept playing for Hungary,
no? Yeah, for sure.
And now he switched to Romania. He also cancelled his participation in this tournament where we are in Norway Chess. Sort of last minute, probably wasn't happy with his full schedule after qualifying for the candidates. What's Richie up to? Laurent, that's your boy.
Yeah, that's my boy, of course. But yeah, cancelling from the tournament is kind of understandable, even if it's very late, and I can understand for organizer it's probably not great, even if it's nice, I guess, for locals to see Arjan in that tournament. I think he deserves the spot. But of course it's understandable because he just played Grand Chess Tour. Now he has to, of course, prepare for candidates. So I think it's just better to rest. And it's very weird that he's playing for Romania. I heard, I mean, like many times he complained to me about his federation. But Peter did, Jan, you did, I did. I mean, like, who? I mean, from the. I mean, you always hear grandmasters complaining about their federations at some point, but that doesn't mean like you are going to switch. I mean, none of us did switch. I mean, and we complained at times about our different federations. So that's weird to me, especially. I don't know if he's planning to move to Romania, but the wall. Maybe can he play Olympiad for Romania in the next? He just have to pay, yeah. Or
I don't know. The system is usually. It used to be if the new federation or whoever pays 25k, then you can switch immediately. If not, you have to wait for 2 years. But it's a bit weird, no? Or I don't know if it's weird, but in chess it's become very common that you can switch federations like you would switch clubs in other professional sports. No, we've had many cases recently. A lot of guys switching to the US, of course, and yeah, I don't know what.
But now we have a political guy on the.
No, he's
in the podcast.
He's apolitical. His political agenda is everything should be apolitical, if I correctly.
Okay, but he's running for elections anyway. So
you want me to talk about Rapport or jump straight to?
No, please talk about Rapport.
Because in football, for example, just one point. If you ever play for the national team, at least in Germany, I guess it's the same everywhere, then you will play for that national team forever. No, which is why there's always such a fight for the talents. While in chess,
that's very good because it means that France will get Mbappe forever. Okay, Peter, you can go ahead.
I mean, of course, as a player, you can argue that if you have rules like in football, it gives the federations more control, which is maybe not ideal for them or some of us who innocently gets into a fight with our federations, right? Which seems to happen to actually a huge number. But I also dislike it to quite some extent. But from the player perspective, I can understand it. Perhaps Rapport got an offer that he could barely refuse and might actually make his life more financially secure, might give him better chances of competing for the top level. So I have difficulties blaming him for that. And it seems to be how the chess world is. And you all talk about United States, and rightly so. I would still point out that I think the first major player to do it was Karjakin, who changed from Ukraine to Russia. He got Russian citizenship, and then he changed there. So, I would say it's probably started there, but of course now the US has definitely done it to a huge extent, so that they are. We even discussed it. They're quite considerable favorites at the next Olympiad and such. But it's weird. I think we all agree with
that. There's always a disclaimer. All these football comparisons are a bit stupid because if you're on a national football team, like you will usually be financially set in most cases, while that's not the case for every chess player. So, of course, from the player's perspective, you go look for what's best for you. It feels like there are so many cases now. Maybe I'm a bit old school there. But federations being switched so easily, I don't know if one needs higher hurdles or if that should just be how it is. But then that means anybody, because the sums aren't that high in chess. Wherever the most money is, you can create a chess players all-star team, which is not the idea of an Olympiad and so on, no?
Yeah, it confused me even more if Richie is not going to live in Romania or just learn Romanian or... I mean, for Karjakin, in his case, it was very logical. He moved to Moscow, and he feels as a Russian. I mean, Alireza came to France, and it was very logical to become French.
I think there should be an exception. You can always become French. That's okay.
Yeah. No, but Caruana, Wesley So, they are living in US, Dominguez as well. I mean, when the guy is planning to live his life in the country, I think it makes much more sense.
But how does it work? Do you have to plan to live your life in the country first, or do you get the offer and then you plan to live your life in the country?
Well, whatever, actually. I mean, it's fine.
There is actually rules about that. I think that, as you said, Rapport might be able to play the Olympiad, but that requires consent from the Hungarian Federation and a considerable financial compensation. While, for instance, someone like me, should I choose to play for Lithuania? Well, I have lived in the country more than 2 years, which I think is the cutoff, and I haven't represented Denmark in more than 2 years. So I think in principle I would be free to go should Lithuania want me and such. So there is rules about these things. And I think also for amateur players, well, give them the right to change country. What is the big deal and such? I mean, and the Olympiad, of course, is mainly amateur players. And then the next question will be: should we then have different rules for the relatively few professionals compared to all the amateur players?
Well, there is a rating cutoff, no,
complicated.
after which you have to pay this 25k or whatever
Of course.
it is. Which, yeah,
even 50, I think, if you are high enough rated.
Yeah, it's 50. But actually, I know the case because France didn't have to pay because Alireza didn't represent Iran for 2 years, and he was already in France for 2 years. So that was exactly the case you just described now. So you are free to go to Lithuania, Peter.
For
no,
quite,
but I'm
quite
sure
a while,
the
I
Danish
think.
Federation would want to lose you. No, that put up a big fight.
No, on the contrary. They actually had a vote and said, yeah, just go. I mean, no problem. But, I decided not to. Well, not that they asked. But anyway.
Do they have a choice? I don't think they have a choice.
But they don't understand your
After 2 years.
psychology very well, no? Had they voted, no, Peter has to stay at all
Neither
costs,
do
he'd
I.
have been playing for Romania for years now.
Yeah, no, I think actually they were fine with me going to Lithuania, but they was a bit afraid I would change to Norway, actually. But I think Norway had absolutely no interest in Norway. So I think they misjudged it to some extent.
So you're on the opposite end of the switching, just no federation wants you.
Not really, no. Also, I don't actually play, so it's not that bad. But,
Team Lithuania, you'd be an asset.
yeah, but I was actually asked about it on a podcast, and I thought about it that, yeah, I would make the team stronger, but it's an amateur team. And I would take a spot away from a Lithuanian player. I honestly don't think that's very reasonable when it's just people having...
So you would hold back all the Lithuanian talents developing because of the games in the Olympics?
For them having a great experience, well, actually, I had many of those and such. So I don't think that makes a lot of
So you're selflessly not playing the Olympiad for anybody?
That's putting it a bit far, but I've decided not to do something anyway. Why not take a bit of time?
We should save the mocking for the next segment.
I think
this is
so.
the
I mean, you just
to give Peter a hard
this
time.
is the warm up. Let's go to the real deal, yeah.
So
Shoot.
Laurent, when we talked about doing this podcast, we thought it would just be fun to talk to you guys once per week with no hidden agendas. Just because we don't really stay in touch if there's no reason to. So we could hang out here, talk some nonsense about the chess world. And now it's become clear we've just been pawns in Peter's political campaign all along. Peter is using us to become...
It's amazing.
Deputy... What is it? FIDE deputy mayor?
Yes.
FIDE deputy president.
FIDE deputy president.
Yeah, all I can say is that Peter would be a better guy than the guy who is doing the job right now. But that's about it. I mean, I don't know. So, Peter, go ahead.
No, I mean, you asked me, but sort of for sake of full transparency, then I have accepted to run as the deputy president on Andriy Barish-Pollet's bid for becoming the FIDE president. So... my usual segment called What's Wrong with FIDE, Peter, now at least has to be under the understanding that I'm an active political player, at least for until the elections has been clarified.
What happened?
So
you kept telling us you're not running for anything. And now, all of a sudden, you're in the mix.
Yeah, and I stand by that was very much my plan. But, Barish-Pollet is a candidate where I basically agree on a one-to-one basis. And he asked me to be his deputy. And I thought the consequent thing would be that, when you have strong views and someone who has the same and who actually takes action, you're supposed to stand by with your views and join him if he asks. So that was basically what happened.
So let's make it clear. Jan and myself, we just heard about that 2 days before it was public, I think.
Really?
I heard the
thought-
same
really
day.
thought
Peter
I
said, for the
really-
sake of
yeah.
transparency, I'll be on that ticket, and I saw a tweet. Like,
Yeah.
I think he
So
told us
when did
while
you-
tweeting.
Yeah.
I felt really sure that I was telling you just before in order
of course.
to be
Doesn't
polite,
trust
but
us.
I didn't take any kind of risk it would leak. So that's my impression. So 2 days,
Imagine
I don't
if that
believe
leaks.
it.
Ah,
2
okay,
days
it was the
before.
same day.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
So you
saying.
didn't want us to leak.
20
So
minutes
you
before.
don't trust us
Of course.
at all. Ah, okay.
No, I think just that, sometimes you have to be unserious, other times you have to be...
So what would happen if we leaked it
Is
2 days before?
Not too much, I would say.
The stakes don't seem
I think,
that high.
No, I get your point.
I actually
Maybe it's-
don't know the guy. I never saw him, and I can't spell his name. But I'm sure I'm not the only one here.
Okay, the not spelling his name, I don't think we can use against him. But I'm also curious if Peter had heard of him or knew him before, let's say 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I don't think he knew him. Come on.
To some extent, I did. To
some extent?
But not to a great extent.
What extent is that?
But heard about him, I think. Also, we have spoken.
You
at
think
times
you
and
heard
stuff,
about him?
But not too. Yeah, I mean,
He's lied to us, Laurent. He's lied to us. Where's the transparency?
No.
It's okay you didn't know him before. We didn't either. He can still be a great guy and great candidate.
Yeah. No. I mean, of course, he's decently new to me, but I mean, well, he's an active chess player. He's a 2600
But he's,
guy. I mean,
he's considerably younger than you and even than me, I think. No?
well, he's the generation of this what do you call this golden year, 1990, I think.
Ah,
It's the
1990,
age
yeah.
of Magnus and such.
Of
so,
course.
but no. I mean, he studied, I think, in Texas, right, and such, has a PhD there. So, but no. I mean, I'm not in any way saying we had a lot of contact earlier and such. But to saying that, who is that?
Also,
I
his
can
FIDE
say
is
of
2569,
someone else is
and you
running.
call him a 2600 player. Peter, stick to the facts.
I said he has been a
He said
2-6
he is a
player at some
2600
point.
player.
Well, it's like I'm a 2-7 player, but just
Well,
my
you're
rating
not.
has dropped a bit, right? Well, that's your opinion.
Okay, then
That's also- Okay.
how did you guys
Okay.
find out you have the same values, and what are these values other than
May I
transparency
answer?
and you want professional run FIDE which will attract sponsors, which is something we've heard before.
I can
Yeah.
answer for Bash Polets. I think he found out about Peter on Twitter.
On Twitter.
That's pretty clear. Okay,
No,
go
I
ahead.
think actually he might have heard about me before.
Wow, flex.
Well, I mean, I've read his statements and such, and I think basically, well, of course, when you mention transparency, you always get my attention and such. But of course, well, he's famous, I think, for his petition to remove Dvorkovich from office, well, I think his sort of, let's say, program is rather limited to these things, and will develop from there. But I think they are basically very principled, and he wants to change the chess world on these points. That, well, one thing is said to have it much more transparent than it is, and that, as you said, people before have said that, but no one has really implemented it. And then, of course, well, you joked about being apolitical, but I think for us it's something that matters a lot, that we think that FIDE has very much been used as a political tool for, you can argue if it's for 40 years, if it's for 4 years, or for 25 years, but that, I mean, we are both talking a lot about sports washing, for instance, and such. So,
But I'm confused by you using that word apolitical. Maybe I misunderstand. Because to my mind, at
Possible.
the very least, you, and from what I hear, also Baris Pulitz, you have very strong political opinions also on when it comes to how FIDE should be run. And I think I share a lot of your opinions, but you're the most political person I know. So using this apolitical as your campaign motto, I'm not sure if that will stick.
Maybe not, but then let me explain. When we talk, of course, we should think something about chess politics and such. When we talk about FIDE being apolitical, we talk about that we shouldn't be a tool for Russia. I mean, that it should not be connected that countries are using us as a political tool in that sense. And I think that has obviously been the case with Russia, as I mentioned, sports washing and such. So I think that, I mean, well, of course, we have political opinions about how FIDE should be run, if that's what you mean, but that it shouldn't be I mean,
Well, a
a
statement
political
which
tool for.
I probably agree with. Like, we can always argue about the extent, but that FIDE should not be involved with any Russian companies, let's say. That's not an apolitical statement either, is it? Like, that's just an
That you
opposite
can
political
argue,
stance.
but I wouldn't say that. I mean, that FIDE should be free of political interest is very clear. It's in its charter and such. So I think that is beyond debate. Well, you can say that. Well, is it political to say that we shouldn't have, let's say, a Russian political force? Of course, you can make that argument, and then everything becomes political. But I think there's a difference by using it actively, like it is the current case, and then like us who will say that no, it's important that there is no countries using this as a tool in that sense. I mean, you can argue that's political, but then it's impossible to beat you.
Yeah, maybe it's a wording question, but this label, I'm not sure it suited your campaign so well.
Maybe not, but
then there's of course also the serious question. Let's say you reach the goal. Let's say first of all the premise is true that FIDE is dependent on Russian money, and you manage to change that. What would it mean?
I don't know if
it's
dependent on Russian money now, but it very much has been, at least, and that it has very direct ties to Kremlin is impossible to deny.
Yeah, but if it has changed already, then the current government has achieved the goal that you were fighting for now, or the current leadership.
I mean, well, maybe we should also judge them on their full period. I mean, you can go back 100 days. It definitely hadn't changed. Now they're claiming that it has changed. But you can see that, I think, more than 90% of the time, while they were in power, it was very much extremely Russian focused.
But now the whole world is adjusting to Russian attacking and destroying and murdering people in Ukraine. No, it's normal that leads to a reaction everywhere, and I'm not sure you can judge people that were associated to Russian companies years ago as having done something wrong.
Well, not years ago. We're talking 3-4 months.
Okay, before the war, let's say. Even though
many tournaments were organized in Russia. I mean, like, when there were no organizers, I mean, it was always in Russia. I mean, it was the point. I mean, that they would find.
Boris Polets counted that since Dworkovich took off, it's more than 50%, 11 out of 20.
Yeah, no, I mean,
was organized in
but,
Russia.
I mean, what's confused me is that you will have a website with a program, and what are you going to do? What will be your top priority in the next, if you get elected, the next 4 years? What do you think about? I remember you had strong position about female events, for instance. I mean, that's. So will you remove them, or I mean, like
not at all. I mean, this is maybe my personal point of views, but you should stick to Boris Polets on that point. My role in this is I care a lot about transparency within FIDE to fight corruption, or at least to make sure that corruption doesn't happen, which is transparency necessary. And then I care a lot about sports washing and Russia under the current circumstances. This is what
does Boris Polets has a website, or I mean, like I didn't.
No, but also, well, I mean, you are comparing us with the current system. You also have to give us some time.
Okay.
I mean, we are both people with normal jobs and family. You're comparing with us with some that has a full system and they can travel on FIDE expenses and go around to tournaments and such.
But that also raises another question. Do you think you can win? Like Kasparov had these 10 million budget, and there were Kasparov-Karpov tickets, and they didn't manage to overcome the system. While I'm assuming you don't have 10 million or a massive campaign behind it. So why do you do it?
I understand.
Like, is it more as a moral stance, or do you really think there's a chance?
We would like to win. I don't consider ourselves favorite, but also, if we get nominated by federation so that we can legally run, then there is 2 months to campaign, and we will do our best in that period and such. But it's obvious that what we are up against, of course, makes us underdogs, and the same goes for the other candidates who is running against Dworkovich. But as I said, I'm running with Boris Polets because I agree with what he says, and I think that it's very brave that he actually tries to give it a shot in that sense. I mean, the thing we generally hear from a lot of people is that, they agree with us, but they say, like, Jan, we can't really win, and then maybe I will lose my spot in some commission or things like that, or we will not. I mean, that it actually contains some kind of risk standing up to the present leadership, and it's more
How did
sort
your
of
research on my commission spot go, Peter?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I
For
simply
the
couldn't
sake of
find it. Jan,
transparency, I was on the FIDE broadcast commission. The total work on it was 1 15-minute call. I earned €0, 0 cents, and I haven't heard anything for 5 years. So good luck researching. But I'm hoping, of course, that's why I don't want to be too harsh, that once you take power, that you will remember your old friends and that there will be a lot of nepotism. So we can
please.
we can get prestigious jobs.
That
appeals
would
committee.
be
I'm
another-
ready.
yeah, that's good.
No
That
worries.
can be a very transparent
you can-
process where Laurent and I are
I
naked.
think one thing, for instance, we would like to change within FIDE is that, well, there's actually jobs you can apply for.
We'll apply.
Yeah.
I mean, this sounds well.
Appeal
That's
committee.
great. and
We
will-
always take
We
appeal
always
committee.
appeal.
Please.
Apply for every appeals committee.
Damn it, with
Yeah.
friends like you. But I mean, well, you understand. There should actually be possibility to apply for jobs, right? I mean, that's also completely unreasonable that the jobs are obviously there, but you cannot apply for them. They're giving, but based on personal contacts, not by application procedure and qualifications. That's how it should be, but it's not. I mean, there are things that can be changed structurally that should be changed structurally, in my opinion. And I mean it, even if you're both laughing.
No,
I mean,
we know
like,
you mean it, and I also do share most of your big picture views. Of course, we're trying to ask some critical questions. What I'm a bit concerned about, if we're being serious, I understand you care about transparency and structure and so on, but for the chess world, and I'm not saying the current solution is ideal, and of course having a Russian leader of your federation will probably be a big problem in many areas either. So I understand there's a solution, but I'm not sure you care or know or have as many connections when it comes to actually hosting events, especially when implementing all the transparency and application procedures and so on that you want.
But
So
you
where's the World Cup money gonna be coming from?
Well, I mean, the same place as they are coming now. I mean, right now, Russian money is completely cut off. I mean, we don't face more difficulties than the current system. And also, you sound like we're going to change everything. I mean, we are running with a ticket of 2 people. I mean, FIDE leadership is much, much bigger than that. There is already a complete structure and such. We are talking about basically, well, why is it that the president has to be someone who has strong Kremlin ties? Why would that in any way make the chess situation better as it is now? I mean, well, I think it's more important to cut these ties than to change everything else in the structure and such. I mean, well,
So
there's a lot of employees in
Emil
FIDE
can
now.
stay.
For my sake, but I mean, he doesn't. Well, again, it's not going to my decision and such. But I mean, well, also you talk about tournaments. They are. I mean, well, it's not like we would not honor contracts FIDE has. FIDE has made a lot of deals for the upcoming years, and we could maybe disagree that the present leadership should make deals that goes very far into the next period. I actually think that's not very democratic, and I think should we sort of be given that responsibility, I think we would not do the same, but leave it for the upcomings. But there's a lot of things that are already in structure there with sponsorships and with tournaments planned. I mean, the Grand Chess Tour will qualify for the candidates. That's going to be the case whoever wins the upcoming elections and such. So I think it's more about changing the ties to Russia, which we think is extremely important, and making things much more transparent.
But to his credit, Dvorkovich did something I think quite clever, taking Vichy in his team, and he managed to save Olympiad, well, basically in 3 weeks, I don't know, and move them to Chennai. So what do you think about that?
Well, I think Vichy is a great choice for vice president in a way. I think. I think should it be us who wins? I think we would. I mean, Vichy would be an obvious vice president and such.
So you mean that if Vichy would run instead of Dvorkovich, you would just not run actually?
Sorry?
If Vichy would be running for president instead of Dvorkovich, the same team?
Haven't. Well, I mean, again, we have to respond to the realities and such. But I think that Vichy would be extremely welcome in the leadership of FIDE anyway. I think that's very obvious.
Wow, takeover attempt.
Well, well, you asked, I answered, and such.
Okay.
Anything else you want to mock me with?
No, we don't really wanna
ask about.
mock. Also, I know you're used to having this to defend this decision.
When is the final deadline? Because you are struggling to. Are you struggling to find a federation who will nominate?
Well,
you?
I think the 7th of June, all the candidates has to present a list of federations and such, and then you are officially running. And well, of course, I mean, we are starting from not having as many contacts as those who has been in the FIDE leadership for 24 years and such. But well, we believe that. For us, it's obvious that it would be better for the chess world to change in that way, and we will try to convince people of that. And well, that's how things should start. Well, I would argue, what else? I mean, also, well, you can say that ours is maybe not favoring to win, but well, then someone who has a better chance should give it a shot, because I think it's a necessary change.
And why
you definitely welcome.
There were so many candidates that why didn't you team up with other candidates, let's say? Because you understand, it's a one-round vote, so this is good for...
Is it a one-round vote or a two-round vote? I'm actually not sure about that.
I heard it was one round, so this is not good. This is not good for... I mean, this is very good for the power. I mean, was clearly... his votes.
I understand the problematics and such.
And why you didn't team up, or you didn't try, or you don't share the same views, or with other candidates?
Well,
how many candidates? 5?
So far, I think there is four teams.
4 teams, yeah.
Yeah, and such. So, but I mean, well, I agree with Boris Pollett's point of view. That is very, very clear, and less with the others.
I think we need more information on these points of views. You need more of a program. Like no Russian leader,
very much so, and
no more transparency.
Well, I think we agree with that, and this is a work in progress, as we say. There is certain deadlines we have to comply with, and we try to take it one step at a time. I understand that it's difficult to compete with a campaign machine that is well, both much better funded and has much more people and such, and probably, at least historically, has even the backing of certain states and such. So that's going to be an uphill struggle, but it's worth taking.
But I'm very happy about this turn of event, Jan, because now look at that. Now Peter is answering our questions. Maybe on Twitter we can mock him. Transparency, you know.
Go ahead.
But where does this lead this podcast? Instead of like talking some nonsense about the chess world, now we'll have Peter campaigning every week, and
amazing. We can ask questions, be aggressive, and he will answer politely.
Delegates, please reach out at PH Chess if you're interested. Like this is a new world.
There's something to see, at least. I would say. So, fair enough. But no, I could also complain about FIDE and such. But now I think this episode you made it into questions about me, which I think is quite reasonable, I would say. So,
but we didn't want to take your time away from complaining about FIDE. What's the latest?
I mean, well, no, you could argue again if you sort of, well, for instance, if you look at tournaments, you can see that a lot of FIDE officials, including the president, but let's say also Kirsan and Berek Balgabayev is visiting, and according to what I hear, also campaigning for Dvorkovich, sort of getting another period as president and such. And my impression is that some of it, well, it's some of them, for instance, like Berek is actually paid by FIDE and such. Maybe he shouldn't be campaigning and things like that. And well, while you say that our program is perhaps not clear, that's fair enough. But also we had very limited time. We still have said more about what we think should be changed than Dvorkovich. Djokovic, as I understand it, has been completely silent and such, and that goes for the whole of his team. Well, you ask me what is the program. I actually try to answer and say that we will very much answer any kind of questions, and we will give interviews. From others, I think you see absolutely nothing, and I think it's a deliberate strategy, and I think that's not.
Well, it's also the usual strategy. No, if you're the front runner and in charge, then it's the opposition that has to make more noise and propose more changes. No, like that's very usual.
To some extent, but I don't think so. I think last election campaign it was actually quite differently. There, the three candidates and was actually giving a lot of views on how they wanted the chess world and such. I'm sure you can find interviews with both Short, with Dvorkovich, and with Makropoulos, giving lengthy statements about how they saw the chess world and how it should be. Now there is basically none of that, and I think partly it is because Dvorkovich teams doesn't want to be asked about Russia, and then they are staying silent, and that, in my opinion, is not how it should be in a democracy.
Yeah, but we need this to feel more like a close race, I think, which maybe you guys will get there. But obviously, as the overwhelming favorite, you have less need to campaign. Like Angela Merkel didn't do any campaigning for 15 years. And say what's going to change, right? Like, so that's the job of the opposition. And of course,
I understand. Angela Merkel had to
2 weeks time.
Angela Merkel had to be elected from a considerable million of people. This election is for less than.
Well, still the same principle. Though, if you're sure you're gonna win, why bother?
Of course.
Yeah, but here you can actually speak to people individually instead of having a larger democratical debate and such. I mean, well, you can see that, for instance, Dvorkovich has been meeting delegates and such, but stayed completely silent about things.
Yeah, that's how the system works. No, like they know they have all these connections.
But yeah, I understand, and I just think it's not how it should be. And especially when Dvorkovich also promised transparency and things like that and such.
Peter, you need to take transparency out of your main campaign. We all know you like transparency. We need to hear other things. It can't just be transparency.
Not gonna happen. No, this is a very crucial thing because the chess world has suffered from it. And
we have some nice podcast.
You can vote for a non-transparency guy if you want. Fair enough.
I will never vote.
Transparency word will be said like 20 times because Peter will say, "I care about transparency. Stop talking about transparency."
Yeah.
No, but transparency is important.
Yeah.
Well, but transparency is the starting point. If we want to talk about corruption in FIDE, well, if it's hidden, how are we going to do
it? Laurent, the starting point is not transparency, it's French currency.
Yeah, French currency. I understand, yeah. Well, then I'm afraid we're going to lose Laurent's vote.
I'm not voting, so that's cool.
I understand. Yeah, okay.
All right, let's stop grilling Peter. Still, serious question for the future of this podcast. How's it going to work? Is Barish Politz going to come out here? Do we then also try to get Nigel or Dvorkovich for fairness? Or are we becoming a FIDE campaign?
Nigel is not running.
How do you picture it, Peter?
Missing it up.
Why Nigel?
It's embarrassing, but I lost your question due to bad connection. So I'm trying to dodge it like that.
Fair enough. No, it was a serious question. Like, are we becoming a FIDE campaign podcast? Shall we have Andrei Barish-Politz on? Shall we then also try to get members of the opposition? We could try to get Nigel. Or
why Nigel? Is he running for something?
I'm sure he's running for something.
I mean, come on, we should get the candidates for FIDE presidency. I mean, like,
yeah, we can invite
the world ticket. I mean,
but is that what we do, or is it just us talking crap? Like,
I think talking crap is fine, no?
I don't know.
I don't think I should have a vote on that.
Let's ask people.
Actually involved.
I mean, if they want to see, we can make extra episode with.
We can make a poll or whatever. You can do that. But again, to me, it's actually a serious topic. But I understand that I'm on the wrong place. But fair enough.
Peter is not being transparent.
I mean, you do it like you.
The producer is saying that we should only interview the deputies.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, good luck with that. Yeah.
Should we talk to Anish if he can become ambassador for your campaign? He's a great ambassador, I'm being told.
I understand that. No, but I generally lack that people talk about this. And also, well, we can laugh, but 7th of June is the deadline for putting up candidacies for the FIDE presidency. And, the chess world is most likely about to elect someone who is very, very close to the Kremlin in the current political climate. And I think it's both morally wrong, and I think it's also bad for the chess world. So I think time is running out, and if people don't back us, they should back someone else and get busy with it, is my point of view.
All right, that's a strong closing statement. Thank you, Deputy Nielsen. I don't know. I understand it's a serious topic, and you know that I'm. Yeah.
I am not criticizing
really.
you.
No, but let's see. I mean,
I would have.
Next week we will know who is running or not. It will be more clear. I mean, for me, the situation is not clear. I mean, like.
Of course. It's a developing situation. It will be more. I mean, the deadline, the 7th of June, is still exciting and such. We will see who makes it over the hurdle or not.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it's a developing story. But this is the current status. I tried to be as transparent as possible. If there's anything else you would like to ask, please do.
No more transparent.
No.
Like the and such is fine, but we have to ban transparent.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, what do we have? We have viewers' questions, but they're not so fun. Viewers, do better.
Okay.
What is up with top players' obsession with the English knight f3c4? I think it is elitism.
Insulting me is okay. Insulting the viewers is probably not a good
strategy.
strategy.
That's okay. What is up with top players' obsession with the English or knight f3c4? I think it is elitism. Yeah, it is. They're too fancy to play 1e4. So they do their, I'll play on the side of the board, and then fianchetto my bishop because I'm better than you. Stephen Lee GM.
No, but...
Yeah, Leela says they have better moves, and only top professional uses Leela.
It's free.
No,
I use Leela.
My answer?
No, it's not true. I mean, like, 1d4 is a top recommendation. No, but let's answer seriously. I mean, if you take this question, I mean, it's very clear that knight f3 or c4 is much less direct than e4, 1e4, d4, 1d4. So you have less chances to be blocked in the opening.
No, the true reason is if you're a 1d4 player like me, there are certain openings like the Nimzo, you don't know what to do, the Ragozin, you don't know what to do, the Grunfeld, you don't know what to do. And sometimes you see, my opponent always plays the Grunfeld. But if I play 1c4, he does something strange, or he does, I don't know, knight f6, knight c3, c5, and I feel I have better chances for an advantage there. So you go 1c4, or you see, if I go 1 knight f3, he goes knight f6, c4, e6, but then after knight c3, he doesn't want to play d5. So very often it's just a means to trick people away from their favorite openings, or at least to become a little unpredictable, especially if you're not an e4 player. Other than that, all chess openings are equal, just people that have more time and resources to study chess. They try to be more flexible, and that's why they might play more knight f3 c4s or 1c4s as well. All good chess openings.
It's a good serious answer. Yeah, I think so. But they might actually all be. Anyway, no. Next question.
Is there such a thing as scouting for young talent in chess? Like there is in, say, football or basketball? I guess depends on the country. In Germany, there's quite an organized process with junior championships and then certain, what do you call this, Kader in German, where you're in depending on age and level and so on. So I don't think anybody falls through the cracks there. But it might be different in countries where there's less of an organized, let's say, chess club or junior championship system. I don't actually know how it is. In India, let's say, where many talents are generated, what the way is there.
Yeah. No transparency in India. We don't know.
As a second or as a deputy, I just get asked, I say yes and take the job. That's how it works. I mean, it's not much of a selection procedure for me, but I genuinely don't think so. Also, we had a much simpler system than in other sports by having rating and such, right? I mean, I think it's quite different. I think chess is much more simplistic in that sense, that the talents will sort of get to show their level quite quicker. It's not a team sport and such. That's
ratings don't lie, right? Even if it's online ratings, you can see, this kid is 12 and he has 3,000 in Blitz somewhere. Then you already get an idea. He might be very good. While in football, you actually probably need someone to go and watch your high school matches or whatever you're playing, right?
Yeah, and also of course, some you might say that you could see that they are quite good, but there are things you can help them with as such. But I mean, I remember seeing Magnus the first time. Maybe he was 11. And I thought, there's a kid there who knows a bunch of theory but doesn't play that well chess, and I was not overly precise. So it's a difficult thing.
Next question is sort of connected. India has a brilliant farm system for young players. I actually don't know. Which other countries have a great system for developing talent these days?
Well, I would like to make a point here that India is a very, very big country with a huge population base. That makes a considerable difference. No, I was at some point speaking with the talent chief of Danish football, and he said that Denmark is doing quite well in football, but that's because we are very good at basically, if you are a boy in Denmark, we will check out if you're talented. You will play school clubs and such, and well, we will find talents and we will develop them. But the problem is that other countries are starting to do that, and when they do that in Poland, for instance, we're not going to be able to compete because they have much bigger population and such. And well, I think population numbers simply matter to that extent. Of course, it's impressive with the new wave of
so that's
chess
why
players in
India is
India.
crushing all the other sports.
No, that's because I would think that in other sports, I mean, well, if you have talents for other sports in India, you might not get to explore them because you don't get into these kind of sports. While nowadays with chess, a lot of Indian kids will be exposed to chess, of course, due to Vishy's successes and because of let's say, chess in schools and possibilities in India. So there is a huge influx of kids learning chess and getting
Yeah, but that was my point. It's not just the numbers, right? It has to be a wave of popularity and structures being built around it. And in India also
these things combined. I mean, if you, let's say, forced every Indian kid to try out chess for a year, of course, they might become even better than they are now, in a way. I'm just saying that, well, the number of grandmasters they have in India is perhaps impressive by numbers, but compared to Germany and Denmark, based on population, is actually still less in a way. I'm not trying to down-talk India. I'm just saying that India has a huge potential because of its population and because of its new traditions, and that they're starting to show that is not at all surprising to me. And that was probably a very long speech without any kind of content.
Which other countries? I don't know, actually. Like, I think it always changes a bit. And, for example, other huge countries like China, I have no idea how it works there. Like, we get some insights sometimes, but I'm still not sure. Yeah, I think in Russia, it was, of course, historically the case, but it's also not as organized. It's just a big place as well with, big chess traditions. So many strong players are still generated there. But for the Western Europeans, it feels like it's random. Strong players can show up in any place. And nowadays you can play online and, well, depending on if your family has the time and resources, you can also travel to tournaments reasonably easily. I don't think it matters that much anymore into what chess culture.
My experience from Scandinavia is that, our biggest talents like Larsen and Carlsen comes in areas where you are generally historically not gonna become a world class player. But if the talent is big enough, there seems to be you'll be able to find a way to quite some extent, right? I'm actually old enough to remember Norway as a chess country that was considerably worse than Denmark, and that has changed, to put it mildly, and such, right? And so, of course, traditions and such matters, but you can see both India and Norway. I mean, well, things change, and they change due to sort of very talented individuals and such. So I think there is some randomness in it, and after randomness, then comes the structure, I would say.
Fair enough. Shall we leave it at that? Mainly because I gotta go to the playing hall and do commentary on Norway Chess, but we're also at 1 hour 20. We can do chicken of the week. I'm sure Laurent has some snide insult prepared.
Yeah, you are trying to avoid that category as
it's
always. Or nominate maybe one French guy, as you did last week. That was very, very annoying. But so we should nominate the chicken of the week, huh?
Sure. Who do you have?
I can't wait. I mean, of course, I have. I was about to nominate actually MVL. I told him like a few days ago, but because he doesn't play in Olympiad, as I said last week.
What's the French team? You should tell us.
No, I'm not going to tell you, but I'm playing, and Ali Reza, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, and Etienne Bacot are not playing, but I think it's not yet official who is playing, so I cannot really say, but these guys are not playing, which is a pity because we would have been number 3. And Maxim explained to me that he would have played if Alieza would play. So, but yeah, he has some health issue. I mean, some gastric problems.
Okay.
He looked just fine at dinner.
You don't.
No, but Treko had problems for the last 3 years. It's what
No,
he
no,
told
we
me.
should
So
mark it, yeah.
You actually
it's
find
not
it
present
okay
to go to India for him. Sorry.
No. I'm impressed with the details of information you're giving here.
Yeah, okay. It's what he told me. So he had some. So if it's health, you cannot. And if he was ready to make the effort, if Alieza would play, then it's very acceptable, I would say. And I would nominate Wesley Giri. I don't know whom to choose because both made such a show yesterday in the Blitz, the last Blitz game. They were laughing like it was. It was a party, with friends, old friends, like they didn't need to talk and they made this repetition, which you said it will be Grunfeld, the sharp line, but it was not. It was this bishop d3, bishop d2, bishop c1. When they were both already they did secure the 5 whites, so I mean you can just, it's a blitz game. I mean, okay, you're paid to put up a show. I mean, you can play some chess as well.
It was a great show, no? It's the only blitz game we're talking about.
Yeah,
We didn't talk about Magnus's a4 against Wesley.
So they are both. So it's Wesley Giri.
Very surprising. Is this?
I will take.
How do you summon?
I will take Jan.
What have I done now?
No, I mean, you said you basically had to run out of the door, so let's do it quickly. Then Laurent talked for 5 minutes, and you don't dare interrupt him to say, okay, it's enough. So I think that would be my pick.
Wow. I got nothing. I'm just happy to be in the company of that many chicken here at the Norway Chess tournament. It's a great pleasure. And there will be many chicken dinners. Although I notice, I always order chicken, that the chicken, they usually eat vegetarian.
Okay.
Deep insight.
Okay.
But probably also chicken don't eat
insight.
other chickens, so it makes sense, right? What? No. I think it fits. Anyway.
That was an interesting way to escape from the nominating a chicken of the week.
Yeah, it's
Actually,
very
I
brave
thought
to
that-
nominate Anish every week. Oh, I nominate Anish Giri. He made another draw. Wow, you're chickening out.
It's for
Right.
transparency, Jan.
Yeah.
No.
No. I got nothing. Let me go, please.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, Jan will do commentary now, but this will actually be before when this is aired. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, it's
actually.
yesterday.
Becomes a bit of,
But also tomorrow
time flying. Yeah.
and today.
Okay. Good. I see.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye. Great pleasure.
Bye.
Bye.